If you're applying to R1 of any year, the deadline to get done with the GMAT correctly is May end, according to me. Again, different people would have come in and have different views, but I feel that if you've done aced your GMAT with the final score by May end, that will be great. So that you can concentrate on your applications the whole of June, July, August, and some bit of September, right? Because that's where you need to churn the maximum content out. You get a 750 and above, you're not only a front runner for your application being accepted, but you're also a front runner for scholarships. And trust me, when I'm making an Excel sheet of the budget, each dollar matters. And I've already stressed in a few previous webinars how top 1% had a phenomenal role in the journey to catalyze the 750.
All right. Hey, man. Hi. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, of course, of course. It's my pleasure to do that.
I know you have a meeting coming up, I think, soon. So thank you so much for your time. I think I'm already overrunning the time slots. I knew this was going to happen, but I'm trying my best to keep it as prompt. But thank you so much for joining us. Harjas, a rock star, absolute champion, got into Wharton Business School. Doesn't get more sort of selective than Wharton out there, and that too with a scholarship of 100K. So phenomenal. Congratulations, Harjas. Let me join everyone in wishing you, and just telling you you're headed for, you're a superstar, man, already, and headed for bigger things. But I'll open the floor to you, man. So I would like you to sort of address the group and share your journey and what did you learn from the process. I also want you to sort of briefly address your the GMAT journey that happened. How did that go? What did you learn? Just help students chalk out a plan. How should they go about it? And then obviously we'll get to the application, and I'll sort of quiz you a bit more on that. But it's all yours, man.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Audrey. And thank you so much for putting this slide together. I think there's a better fun fact about me, and I'm not too sure if I can say it in the larger public sphere.
I have to tell. Yes, go on.
I'm a compulsive wedding crasher. I've crashed 57 weddings uncaught. So in case I make it to any of your weddings out there, the 250 odd people who are there, don't doubt my skills. Yeah,
that's fantastic.
But I think it feels great to be on the other side. I mean, the 15 days before I was on the participant side, but today I'm on the other side. It feels great. But then honestly, it also invokes in a sense of responsibility to do for people who are at that stage where I was 15 days back. So happy to have come here and helped. I think I'll be brief, and in case you have any questions, I'd love to answer those. But since I assume that 90% of the people here are either going to apply in round one this year or round one the next year, I just want to congratulate everybody that you are here at the right time, because there's a lot of it that you can control. And I'm happy to share my experience. But first and the foremost thing that I want to say is that MBA is doable, is trackable, but you need to commit to a process. It's a very streamlined process. The more systematic you are, the more methodical you are, the higher probability is in your favor. With that note, I'd say the first and foremost step is always the GMAT, because this is something that helps decide a lot of other things within the application, including the scholarship. So I feel if I were to give you a framework to think about it, if you're applying to R1 of any year, the deadline to get done with the GMAT correctly is May end, according to me. Again, different people would have come in and have different views, but I feel that if you've done aced your GMAT with the final score by May end, that will be great. So that you can concentrate on your applications the whole of June, July, August, and some bit of September, right? Because that's where you need to churn the maximum content out. Honestly, I'm also a strong believer in the fact that hope for the best and prepare for the worst. So do budget for multiple attempts. There's no harm in admitting that I went through 3 attempts to reach 750. I was stuck for the longest time at 710, and I've already stressed in a few previous webinars how top 1% had a phenomenal role in the journey to catalyze the 750. With that note, I say that it is okay to move to round 2 rather than hurry on your GMAT. That's what I did. So my GMAT got delayed because I had to take multiple attempts, and I wish I knew that beforehand. But I moved to round 2, and it paid me dividends, right? So it's okay to put your best foot forward, even if that means that you postpone your plans by a few months. Realistically, I feel, looking at hundreds of friends who are applying along with me, seniors, peers alike, 730 and above is great for all of the schools to consider you. That's the baseline, right? That means you won't be rejected because of GMAT. But as you go along the spectrum, you increase your probability by a fair margin, which also means that if you get a 750 and above, you're not only a front runner for your application being accepted, but you're also a front runner for scholarship. And trust me, when I'm making an Excel sheet of the budget, each dollar matters. So can't be more thankful. I think that's about the GMAT. The other thing is about choosing your partners on the journey. And I think the biggest partner on the journey is a consultant. People reach out to me and ask me whether one should hire a consultant. I say yes, go for it, because of three reasons. Right? One is that the consultant will help shape your story. And it's very important to have a very cohesive and a coherent story. Number two, the consultant has worked with hundreds of people, right? So they know what works and what doesn't. Number three, you need a third person who's slightly out of your life to soundboard things with, to bounce off things with, to have feedback. So for those reasons, I feel consultant is somebody who's very important in the journey. And the way you choose a consultant also matters, but I think two main factors. One, your working style should align with that, the cadence, the frequency. So make sure when you speak to a consultant, you decide all of that beforehand. And the other thing is, have the consultant shown a track record in sending people of your profile to the business? Because then that would mean that they know what your application would be like. I can detail on it, but I would say that you should freeze your consultant by April end maximum. Because I see that consultant slots are occupied in times following that. So I'm sure you want to call dibs on the best person you want to work with. So do that early. So I mean, you should start doing that right now, but April end works. And before I move the application side of things, I just want you to have a very realistic view of how much time it takes to craft a winning application. I would say it takes 100 hours for the first school and 50 to 60 hours for every additional school. Why does it take 100 hours for every school? I'm sure you've heard enough commentary about it. But because the first school requires a lot to think about your life, ponder over things. So there's a lot of brainstorming involved. And once that brainstorming is done, you can sort of apply nuggets from that brainstorming to others. So you save time. It's very important to budget for 100 hours. And then what you should be extremely comfortable is turning drafts after drafts, comfortable with throwing off what you've written completely, comfortable with, so my consultant and I shared a very, very straightforward relationship. I used to sit on a Sunday and write a whole essay. And I thought, hey, Harjas, you aced it. That's the best essay. And the next thing my consultant used to say is, please scrap it. This deserves to go into your recycle bin. So I've heard enough of it. And I think you should also get comfortable doing it because, I mean, that's why you hire a consultant, right? To give you the truest perspective. So if at this point in time, if you can, imbibe some habits of writing any content, whether it be on your Twitter, LinkedIn, at your office, then you start getting into the groove and momentum, and that might save you a few hours. That's my suggestion. And now that we know the timeline, there are a few things that matter within your application. So the first thing is your story. Who you are, where you're coming from, where do you want to go, and why the business school is important. There are a few aspects there, right? First aspect is why an MBA? Honestly, the most successful people who've gotten have had a very strong reason to do an MBA. So you're likely to succeed if you have a real reason, which means what I want you to do is sit down and think about why you really need an MBA. Talk to people, talk to friends, talk to relatives who know you better, and figure out whether you really need an MBA. I'll also be very honest, very, very honest. I don't know if I'm allowed to speak that. It's okay not to do an MBA. There are a lot of opportunities out there, and you'll be at the top. It might take some more time, but you'll be at the top someday. But if you're going to do an MBA, like have that real reason, and I'm pretty sure the rest of the application will take care of it. Number two, keep writing stuff about yourself in a scratch pad. So if you're sure that you want to apply to an MBA, before you talk to a consultant, before you start crafting your stories, have a scratch pad, have a list, have like a notepad, wherein anything you remember about your life, right from childhood to your work experience days, keep writing them. No need to organize them, no need to structure them. And this could be stuff which is great projects you worked at, places where you earned laurels for your organization or your school or your college, places where you were appreciated by your managers, places where you struggled. So as you remember, you keep writing stuff down. I remember I had this scratch pad, a physical notepad, right? It's on my right, and a digital notepad. So wherever I am, whether it's in my office or at my home or maybe having dinner, in case I remember some interesting nugget about my life, I kept writing that. And I did that since 2020. And when I was crafting on my applications, I was surprised to see the whole lot of content that I'd already written. I could structure it later, right? And the third important part is the school research. So again, I started doing that in 2020. If you know certain set of schools that you want to apply to, there is no harm in reaching out to the professors, alums, students, and thinking about or figuring out what life in that school is and what do your career paths look like. For example, I want to be an investor in the long run. So I used to quiz people about how did Wharton or how did Booth or a Kellogg enable their journey to be a better investor. So if you start doing that right now, you will be surprised that by September, you already know so much about the school. And I think as Ria mentioned, schools really appreciate that you've learned about them. Schools really think this as a sign of enthusiasm towards them. And this goes a long way in crafting a winning story. This is majorly about story. There's tons of things that could be spoken. But I'd come to one of the other important things, which is the recommendation. So US schools, UK schools, or all foreign schools take recommendations very seriously. They want to do two things and make sure your recommendations have them. The first one is they want to validate the tall claims. For example, in my story, I mentioned that I helped Bain and Company start a new revenue stream. Now, this is a tall claim, right? So they would want to see some validation of that. So I made sure I gave the right bullet points to my recommender through which this could be validated, right? So validation is one. The other thing is, can you add net new information that the whole of your application combined does not have? So, I mean, I urged my recommender to write about how I brought 500 employees at Bain together to connect after the working hours to enjoy, have team building activities, train people. So all the ECA or the extracurricular activity stuff is something that you can write. And that wasn't there in my application, including the resumes, the forms, the essays, all of that. So make sure you have a right balance of validating existing information and adding net new information. So if I go one of the last two pieces that I have to share today before I encourage the people in general to ask questions, is that a lot of people ask me, what can I do today? All that you said makes sense. That's great. Hey, awesome. But what can I do today? What are my action steps today? So there are two things that I think immensely help me. First is you have to do a litmus test of whether you're ready to apply for an MBA or not. And how do you do that litmus test? It's very easy. Sit down today and think of all your organizations you've been a part of, whether it be your college, your work experience 1, your work experience 2, whatever, right? So for me, it was College of Business Studies from Delhi University, Bain and Company, and the venture capital fund Axel Partners. Can you list down 2 projects that were needle moving? Can you list down 2 big things that you did that actually moved the needles for your company or your clients? If the answer is yes, is great. That means you just need a good consultant to help you position the story. If you think no, you're repeating points, you don't have something, 2 points from each organization extraordinary, 2 points from each organization, that means from this time till September or the next September, you need to bridge for a killer project at your organization. So that's my litmus test that works. Number 2, the second thing that you can do today is test your academic rigor. These schools have a very difficult life. They want you to balance academics, do your placements, recruiting, run clubs, organize conferences. It's going to be a difficult ride. I only anticipate it. I haven't gone through it myself, but I've heard enough of it. So you have to see, have your colleges, GMAT, or coursework demonstrated that you are academically sound? If the answer is yes, that's great. It's just about positioning your story. That can happen. But if not, I would urge you to take additional coursework. Try to cover for that basic layer of academic rigor. GMAT can be a great thing to do that. If you think that you need something additionally because your college grades were not that good, take additional coursework. Do some additional coursework from these M7 institutions. There's enough of it. So these are the 2 things that probably you can do right now. In the end, I just like to say that anyone can do it. And I say this out of experience because there are a lot of people, there will be a lot of naysayers in your journey. They say, hey, you're not from an IIT, you did not do that, you did not do this. It's like, okay, I just need to be there and do it. There's enough examples that people from each of your backgrounds, and I can bet has gone in. So you can too. And the other thing is, I'd urge you to commit to the process, which means that there'll be a lot of demotivation in between, which means I'll tell you my example. I got rejected from everywhere but Wharton. So I waited for rejections of each of my schools. It was not easy, but I had faith that I've put in the right work. I followed the right process. I've spoken to the right people. And Wharton happened with a scholarship that I couldn't have even imagined in my dreams. So I think I remember, I love reading poetry. So I remember this very important line from one of my favorite poems. It says, stick to the fight when your hardest hit, because it's when things seem worse that you must not quit. And stay by it, you'll reap dividends. Yeah, thank you.
Fantastic, fantastic, Harjas. I really don't think I have anything to add here. Thank you so much for that. It was super comprehensive. I'm so happy with how you broke it down. To everyone listening in, I hope you can see the level of structure. I think the word you used was structure. Break down your thought process, the amount of research you have done on the schools. It's very clear to us. And I think it was very clear to Wharton. And I will absolutely second what you said. Never listen to the naysayers, because there are too many of them. Absolutely. And from personal experience, having worked with so many students, I can say that it happens quite a lot, right? Where you get dings from so many schools, but how do you even care? Years down the line, you won't even remember any of that. You're going to be a Wharton grad. You've got the scholarship behind you, and that's all it takes. So thank you so much for being so honest and giving us so many insights. I think this was so helpful. I know you have something else to get on, so I'm not going to keep you on for too long. But any final words, anything else you would like to add? I leave the floor to you. But thank you so much for your time.
No, thank you so much, Audrey. I love spending time here. Again, I
you
was
are going to be doing many more of these, man. Just get ready. It's going to get used to this. It's going to be a lifetime of giving gyan to people. It's just the beginning.
Yeah, no. I think this is the easier stage. What happened the last year was the difficult one. All of you, the very best. And trust me, you can all do it. If I could, so can you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, man. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time. Cheers.
Thank you.